much for coming to my graduate film screening, Sestra. This is a film that is very dear to my heart. There's a lot of people here that helped me make it. It's inspired by the different dynamics of sisterhood specifically. And yeah, I really hope you enjoy it. The plan is to start with the film, and then one of my course tutors, Gareth, will be running a Q&A where I invite you all to ask questions after as well if you want to find out more about the behind the scenes of the project. And that will also be with the actresses Anna Arthur and Mae Meadows and myself. And yeah, after that, please join us at the bar, have some food, have some drinks. You can also buy a poster if you want. Posters are going to help us fund for the film festival submissions. And thank you so much to those who already bought one. We've already raised more than £100, so I'm super, super grateful. And without further ado, I would also like to thank the team that's here, all the crew members that helped make it happen, the backers that helped us raise £5,000 in the crowdfunding campaign in May. This film would generally not have been possible without all of you. And my family, who's not here today, but they also wish you all a very lovely screening, and they're pretty much the only reason I can make films like I do today. So yeah, thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy.
Oh, the chair.
They're very sinky, aren't they?
Very sinky. I like it.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. For those who don't know me, I had the pleasure of working with Lara and many of the crew of this film throughout their time at Met Film School. And when Lara asked me to come and MC this particular Q&A, I was delighted to do so because I think it's a really great example of what can be done with a short film, the type of storytelling you can do in this type of length, and for many reasons which we'll get into in this Q&A. Obviously, you saw from that little montage at the end, you are a sister. I take it you are as well?
Yeah.
How many siblings?
I just have one older
One?
sister. Yeah, I have one twin sister, big up Stella.
And
One younger sister.
okay, so this, how much of this experience as a sister, as having sisters, how much of that spoke to your preparation for the film? And I guess we'll start with Anna and Mia. Like, how much of that spoke to your preparation for the role?
It was everything, actually. Yeah, from the audition as well, we connected a lot about that. And I mean, yeah, like working on something that's so like close to home. You know, I've been on such a journey with my sister, and we've had our ups and downs, but obviously I love her to death ultimately, even though we fight. But yeah, it served the story totally, and obviously, like, because I'm a twin, it's different to what Mae and I went through, and I felt like I could actually tap into my more like nurturing, loving side with Mae because she was my baby sister, and I'm the baby twin. I'm actually the younger twin. So that was really nice because I don't really have that dynamic with Stella. So yeah, thank you, Mae.
How about you, Mae?
I think for me, as an older sister, I know exactly what pisses me off. So I knew how to annoy Mila well. Because I know what my sister would do that would really annoy me. So I just tried to recreate that, I guess.
Is your sister here tonight?
Yeah.
Thank you for the inspiration. So you were really channeling that kind of the bratty, annoying younger sister. And Laura, you're the younger sister as well.
Yeah.
So how did that feed into the writing of these two characters?
Ooh, I think I actually used a lot of my personality traits as a kid. I don't know if you could tell in the montage videos, but like I was so annoying. Like I was actually way more annoying than I am now. Because yeah, I know. No, because I think when you're the younger kid, you know, the older one takes the fall for everything, and you abuse that. And I don't know why, but I think when I was writing the script, it made it easier, kind of using someone that, not that, you know, Eloise isn't abusing it in the same sense. She's more like nonchalant. She doesn't realize she's doing it. But taking the characteristics of a younger sibling and an older sibling and then pulling them so far apart that it's not even a game anymore. Like, it's just a wall. And I think it helped a lot being the younger sister and writing the script, because it made me add like a bit of comedic elements from my experience of like annoying my sister. So yeah.
I think there's the comedic elements and the younger older sister dynamic, which I think is really interesting. But what really impressed me when I first saw the cuts of this film earlier on was the layers that go into that dynamic. Because one thing anyone who's ever had a screenwriting class with me will know that I talk about writing characters of conflict, but you can't just write characters that are different for the sake of being different. Here we have two sisters who have had very different experiences growing up with their mother and had very different childhoods, and that's resulted in them being very different. This kind of parentification that Mila's gone through has made her a very different person than Eloise, who kind of got the benefits of that experience. I was wondering how much you went into that in rehearsals and in preparation or on the set. Throw it out to perhaps the actors.
Our prep days, we spent actually painting those cat pictures that you saw. They were a part of our process, and we spent all day just like chatting and laughing and making these cats together, and they ended up in the film, which is kind of cute. But yeah, then I feel like we could kind of work backwards and work more on the isolation from each other, and that was more individual work for me anyway, I found.
I feel like there was quite a tangible sense of the kind of distance and maybe even resentment that is in that relationship, especially in the earlier scenes where the cigarette is such a small moment, but you can feel that it feels very, the relationship feels very authentic, but the world feels very lived in as a result of that.
Yeah, totally. I think it was like, for me, it was working with the feeling of being an outsider in my own home, and then feeling like I need to get rid of things that actually made me happy in my home, and then Eloise being like so happy and oblivious to like everything that I'd been through, like to try and take care of her and make her happy growing up. So yeah, and I feel like playing Mila, like the feeling of just not being understood by my sister, who I feel like I understood so much, and there was that feeling of like, what about me? Like, what do I get out of this? Like, I've worked so hard to make you feel happy, and what about me? There was a lot of that.
Which is normal. Like you are the main character in your own story in life. How about you, Laura? Like, did you, when you were developing these characters, how deep did you go into that backstory and thinking about who these people were as children growing up together?
I think there was a point in the writing where I like kind of burnt out and I was really stuck and I didn't know how to continue. And then the feedback from my tutor was actually to write your entire life out, like as a timeline. So I basically, you weren't born yet, but I basically made a timeline of Mila's life and everything that led up to this point and why she's now just like bubbling with resentment because of all these little incidents. And that really helped. So I would say I think I went into more depth with Mila's character just because she's, you know, kind of guiding the conflict. But then once I had established that, I was able to like put more detail into Eloise because I knew what would push, you know, Mila's triggers, and I knew how to plant Eloise's actions to like expel those in that sense. So yeah, it was a big part of prep for sure.
Great. I mean, it really comes through on the screen. And then with the performances, I think there's a real sense of the chemistry between you that, although it develops as the course of the story goes on, obviously it's there from the beginning. You have those little lovely moments where there's connection, you know, when you talk about the trip that you had planned, but then the connection breaks down again, and those kind of waves that you get in this relationship are really interesting. In terms of how you were exploring that on the set, and as you know, three sisters of, you know, roughly similar ages, how did you kind of develop those things, those little nuances between you? Or was it an individual process, or were you kind of talking to each other about that?
We did talk to each other about it, but I think a lot of it came naturally because we got along so well. and also because Eloise is always so up and with energy, it was kind of like unspoken at points where we would meet in the middle.
Really easily, and it was beautiful.
It definitely comes across. I think another thing that comes across is and I think this is true of most films, is the kind of energy and the feeling within the crew and on the set in general. Happy set generally results in a better film than the set where everything is stressed and crazy. It's worth noting that, just from a cursory look at the credits, many of the main HOD roles in this film were filled by women as well, and this is obviously a story that centers a very it's a female-centered story with a predominantly, maybe not predominantly, but a very female crew. I was just wondering how that felt on set, and if that's something that you feel like added to the authenticity and the heart of the story. Sisterhood, family behind the scenes, if you like.
Girl power.
Yeah. Honestly, it was very calm. Like there were
Really?
I would say so. Yeah. Just every single things go wrong, and then they were just fixed. like no issues, just sorted out pretty instantly, I would say.
I think the female aspect, it was actually quite accidental, like that it just kind of happened, but obviously Robin and Tina were like the forces that kind of started it, and then Beth came in and did the casting. So I would say the core group before we crewed up was definitely very female, which I think yeah, exactly. Which I definitely think kind of put us all into like a very good fusion to collaborate, so that when we did add in other people, be them male or female, it just worked very smoothly. And I think it did help. We also had a very male, very strong AD who like kept us in line, which I think was good, because I think we would have been like playing mermaids or something if it was just like a girl gang the whole time. But yeah, no, it wasn't intentional, but I think it definitely worked in our benefit for sure.
I think the it's something that in the industry it's been all too rare historically, and especially in a story that really doesn't even try to kind of cater to a male audience in the classical patrons, right? Like, we don't have that bit of dialogue where we find out, oh, who's the father of this baby? Where was the dad when they were growing up? It doesn't kind of cater to those points, and it doesn't need to, because it's centered on these relationships in the middle, the sisters and the mother, who's kind of as with forgive me for the parents in the audience, but our parents do sort of hang over our lives in different ways. Were there any particular scenes or emotional moments that maybe hit a bit closer to the bone, or were particularly hard when you were approaching them on set, that you felt like that environment really helped to bring out the best in you?
For me, it was the moment discovering the wedding album. I did a lot of work with my coach, Nicole, who's also here. When we were filming it, take after take after take after take, I didn't have to think, I didn't have to try, like, it just came. And I'm even kind of feeling it now, but like that was really real. That felt really real, and it hit home. But I'm grateful enough I'm fortunate enough to have a beautiful relationship with my dad. Mila doesn't. So I could compare the two. I could go, okay, so what would it be like to lose my dad? How would that feel? And that's how it felt.
Mae, how about you? I know your character's very upbeat and positive, but obviously there's some stuff going on beneath the surface.
I think when the scene when Mila has an accident and she comes to Eloise is quite a big deal for Eloise, because I think she knows that she's been annoying. Maybe not when she was doing it, but in hindsight she's like, oh, what an idiot. And so that moment of like, okay, she's come to me for help, this is an opportunity, what can I do? But also, how do I not be annoying about this and set her off again? And yeah, that like thought process of how do I fix this when I'm the last person she really wants to talk to right now. And yeah, I think that was a big moment as well for Eloise.
I think that moment feels so real. And I was just wondering, how did that, for Mae and Anna, coming into this, how did it feel for you as actors coming onto this set compared to other films, either student films or professional films? And just generally, how did you feel embodying these roles for the 3 or 4 days when you were very rushed on this?
Yeah, it felt very professional from the beginning. It's always a risk doing student films, but I feel like, from the moment getting the script, I really resonated with the character. And yeah, then the audition, the way that it was ran and the conversations that we had, I could feel the real desire to make this really heartfelt, make this really real. Like, this was a really important story for Lara to tell, and I think that resonated on set too. I think it's always good having a really top first AD as well. Like, Ross was amazing, so amazing, and yeah, just the vibes were so strong, and everyone worked really hard to connect, which is really important. And everyone looked after each other, and yeah, it did feel professional. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It felt really professional, and I think that was because of how much time you put into it, Lara. And when we're going through the script, nothing is meaningless. Everything, every stage direction, every line, you're obviously, do your own thing, but this is why I've written it, and that just made it so much easier to do it naturally, because that had been taken care of. You had the vision so clearly done that we could just be free within that realm, which I think was perfect.
That must be quite nice to hear.
They made it easy.
They did it on their own. And on set, I was just tweaking camera with, Robin, and talking to Ross about the timings, or Camille and Nana about why is this piece on the left, it should be on the right, or whatever. But it was so, I was so glad to have people I could just trust, because they knew what I wanted and they just did it. And that's the best thing that you could get as a director, was trusting your actors. And yes, I'm very grateful for that.
Credit to the casting director there. I was going to ask if the alliteration of actor names was part of the requirement. Anna Arthur, Mae Meadows, Charlotte Coleman. We've got across the board. It's not really a question, but anyway. The location provided some challenges as well. In a way, it was one of the strengths of the pitch. It's a very contained script, makes it feasible on low budget and short timeline. But filming in a small garage makes it quite difficult to make a dynamic and interesting film. But there were lots of different ways that you made it feel like, it's very kind of cliche to say, but it did feel like it was part of the world, and it was a character in itself, and it revealed lots about the story. How did you go through that process of developing the character of the location and this place where they've obviously had a lot of history?
Well, I should thank Melanie and Keenan that are sat at the back for providing their garage for us. That was absolutely, round of applause, please. They absolutely saved the film, genuinely, because finding a nice garage in London is not an easy task. And they allowed us to, be flexible, move things around. So we essentially created a garage within a garage, because it was a double door. So we created the pathway, and that allowed us to film through the shelves, film through the walls, move things around. And it made it so much easier to make the camera kind of hidden, because Robin and I wanted the camera to feel like a spectator as well, but not in the way that it's invading in their journey, but more in as subtle as possible. So the garage was absolutely huge part. I mean, I just, like the whole door on the other side was like perfect because I could shoot through the doors, through the windows. We could open the garage. We could open on the other side, the patio, and it really allowed us to shape the shots instead of just having, you know, classic like 2-shot, 1-shot close up and all that stuff. So yeah, it played a really big part. And after securing that, I could take a deep breath. So yeah, it was absolutely amazing. I'm so grateful that we found that place.
It was when I was going around finding all these things, the order, or where they were hidden, because they weren't just there, they were hidden. But once I got my head around that, yeah, it was a really nice place to film, and it's fun there.
Yeah, the continuity was quite something. To remember which order you take the things out and put them on the different shelf for each shot, that was quite tough. But I don't think it came across, so that's good. But yeah, it was fun. Like lots of random stuff that isn't yours. You just get to look through strangers' items. I'm not weird, I promise. It was fun. It was dusty, but that's okay.
It's a garage.
Exactly.
How much of that was improv as you were going through those scenes or those montages of packing, unpacking, finding things?
I think a lot of it was set, but I mean, like for the first shot or the first few, like you're kind of finding your flow, and then you find the choreography, and then you go with it, you know.
Great. I mean, it was a great location. Credit again to the crew for finding and managing that. I'm going to open it up to the audience in just a second, so I'll be thinking of questions if you'd like to ask any. But in terms of the production journey itself, Lara, how are you feeling now? A few months removed from it, I know it's very stressful. There was a lot to do in a very short amount of time. You've made it here. How do you feel about your film and the experience that you had?
I feel relieved because I did this thing where I really wanted to screen for you guys and show it to, you know, the cast, friends, and family and the crew. And I almost felt like I rushed it too much because obviously we filmed in May and then we edited in June and July and we screened it for graduation. And then I was like on holiday with my family in July, and I was like, let me just plan the screening. Like the film will be ready. It's fine. I'll just plan the screening. I invited everyone, you know, hired out the cinema, and the film wasn't done. So I had like a very intense 2 weeks in screening if your film is not done yet.
I mean, it was made like a few hours before being eaten, and then before I would eat it. I mean, at least I didn't have it cold because it went in the microwave.
Over and over and over
again. For 30 seconds, and then I'd eat it. And I had to have a full mouth of it as well. Like there was no nibbling. But you know, I'd do it again. So if I had to, yeah.
When you say you do it again, does that mean you would eat that specific dish again?
In the same context, yes. Not by choice.
Very professional. Yeah.
I have what I feel is a stupid question because I probably missed something. But there was a lot of shots of Anna in the bathroom, sitting on the low, brushing her teeth and everything. And then we get the positive COVID test. No.
Pregnancy test.
Oh, it's a stupid question.
You want to get that?
No, really, it does look like it does look like a positive COVID test. Why did you give her
In your defense, I wanted a shot of us unpacking the pregnancy test, and we just completely forgot about it, and that would have, you know, made it absolutely clear, because there are a lot of, you know, especially since COVID, there are a lot of like those little tests, and the shot is like 1.5 seconds. So I'm sorry that there wasn't the packaging that could have taken it home.
To be fair, you would then have to, your production designers would have to produce a pregnancy test box. Oh, you have one? Were there any COVID scares during the shoot? Just to check.
No.
We're good.
No.
You tell us.
President, you tell us.
Yes.
I just wonder about Anna, your sister, sort of how she was a part of the process, how much she contributed to the writing. Did she give you any feedback at all, or what was her sort of role in all this?
Yeah. Did your sister contribute to the writing and development of this at all?
So the only contributions that my sister made was, so when am I going to see the film about me? Is my actor pretty? She was, like, she lives in Amsterdam, so we don't get to exchange, like, as much. So I was very, swamped with the process, but she thought that Anna was absolutely gorgeous and that she is a good representation of herself. And when I asked her, sometimes I would ask her about like specific situations and that would like help me. But in general, she wasn't as invested in the actual writing process because she's just, studying herself. But when she did see the film, she was bawling like from the first second. I think she was just crying because she knew it was to her. But she still thinks it's about her. Even though our parents are not divorced and she's not pregnant, but.
And to feel really connected to whoever you're working with. But yeah, obviously like Game of Thrones or something would be nice.
I mean, there was a part of me that wanted to keep writing when I was writing Sestra, so I think a longer version of Sestra where I could develop their story more would definitely be a really big dream of mine. And just there's a lot of family stories that I want to make about my grandparents, especially. I find that there's a sibling nuance and then there's a grandparents nuance that I'd love to explore as well. So. Yeah, staying in the same genre though, for sure. I mean, that's what made this process so fun was that, we got along, we got to collaborate. So I definitely want to do more projects like this.
If you were to get Game of Thrones, which character would you want to be?
I haven't even seen Game of Thrones. How embarrassing.
I called you on it. Yes.
Firstly, well done everyone. It's a really, the feeling of the piece was just lovely. But can I ask you, Laura, how, now the film's made, does it have a different feeling than it did on the page, or are you too close to it to know the difference?
I think it definitely does have a different feeling. But they always say like a script gets written 3 times, once at the beginning, once when they're filming, and once in the edit. I actually scratched the entire first scene. So it's definitely different than what I'd written, but it's still very much what I wanted. So it's just like a different font of the same thing I wanted to create. So yeah, and I think when you have your actors, it also changes it, because I didn't write it knowing who it was going to be. So yeah, definitely. But in a good way, I would say.
To Anna and Mae, do you feel like when you came into it, did it live up to your expectations? Did it change, or did your feelings about it change between then what you read on the page and what ended up on the screen?
I didn't expect to fall in love so much. She's so cute. Yeah, I mean, obviously, like, I read it with my sister in mind. My sister's also really cute.
This one's for Laura. How do you feel you've grown as a director, especially since Fashion Police and now with Sestra?
Great question. How do you feel you've grown as a director? And I guess across you've had many different experiences that I've seen from. How do you think you've grown in general, if I can tag on to that question?
I think I've grown a lot. I think something that's definitely stayed the same is that I know what I want. Like when I have a vision, like no one can change my mind, and it needs to be that way. So that hasn't changed, but I've definitely grown in my knowledge of what actors need, because they always tell you like don't result direct, don't tell them to cry on the spot and those things. And that kind of links back to what I was saying about trusting your actors. Learning that trust was so terrifying. Like putting my baby, like my film baby, into practically strangers' hands and just letting them make it happen was really scary. And I think my ability to do that now makes the casting process so much more insightful, because I'm looking for people that I can give a note and then they'll understand the character and take it further. So yeah, I think I've grown a lot. I mean, I hope I've grown since Fashion Police, but yeah.
Any other questions?
Was there a specific inspiration or moment that you were certain, oh, this is what I want my film to be about, and why? When were you sure this is what you wanted to make?
So I was actually at a film festival with my dad in the holidays, and we were just, coming out from a screening, and we had just watched like 9 depressing films the entire day. And like amazing films, like by amazing directors and amazing actors, and we were just kind of sad. Like we were just, obviously appreciating the art of it, but I really wanted to make something happy. Like that was my seed. And then I kind of started looking at, well, what are like things in my life that I know and that I can talk about. And then obviously my sister and I has a very present relationship in my life. I just thought the contrast was really interesting, but not only interesting in a happy and funny way, because my parents make fun of us that we're so different. And I kind of played with the funniness of that, but also, where does that come from, and like the serious aspect. And then I had contrasting, themes, and then I could build, and that's how I started doing the story. Gareth actually gave me the pregnancy idea, so I have to give a big credit to you for that. Because I needed something to set Mila off. But yeah, that was the seed. Sibling relationships, wanting something joyful, and then what can we tell that is also real and important at the same time.
So, Laura, this question is to you, but as a director, do you have any specific director or screenwriter that specifically inspires you?
Question for Laura, any particular director or screenwriter that inspires you? But after that, I'd like to pass the same as regarding actors. Laura, you can start.
I'm going to hate myself for saying this, but Christopher Nolan is the most basic, candid answer. So I'm very sorry for not being original, but it is just how I feel. I don't think I admire him in the sense of like those are the stories I want to create. I think he does like these kind of mind puzzles, which I think are amazing, but I want to do things that are more real in everyone's lives, like more kind of tangible things. So I love and admire his work, but I don't think that's the type of writing I would do myself.
Florence Pugh really inspires me, just the way that the versatility first of all, but also just the way that it feels like she brings her real self to every part that she plays in such a range of different ways.
I've always loved Emma Stone. I think because of her ability to be like intense and serious and also funny, and both she does equally well, and I think that's very impressive.
Just to sort of round things out, the question for each of you: if you could go back to the very beginning of this process and give yourself one note, either something to do differently or a warning about something, what would that be?
Easier said than done, but be less nervous, because I was so nervous to like meet everyone and like I'd never done something with that many people looking at me, like acting. But yeah, if I just just breathe through it and trust that I know what I'm doing, basically.
You know what you're doing. That is a really good question. For me, I think if I could go back, I would let go of the preparation more, although it really served me. I think I would relax more into what's here, what we had, rather than bringing what I experienced with my own sister, because I feel like I would have found more of our joyful connection that we have earlier on. That would be my note.
The flip side of that question, in a way, and this is your opportunity to brag about something, I suppose. Is there anything about your performance, a tiny little detail maybe, that you noticed that you put a lot of thought into, that you hope that everyone else notices? Some small moment where you're like, yeah, I nailed that.
The memory book, the wedding book, what do you call it? Yeah.
Wedding album.
Wedding album, thank you. Because that was such a real heartfelt moment for me. But I don't think I was thinking, I hope people see that. I don't think I was thinking that. But if I could pick one moment, it would be that.
It's a good moment. Both good moments. And Laura, is there a particular moment that makes you think, man, I'm good at this writing, directing stuff?
I think the Asia trip conversation felt very natural, and I think it's because we filmed it on like the third or fourth day, and you guys were so in sync with each other. And then the way that leads up to the argument. The argument was something I worked on for so long, and I mean, Aaliyah and I went through the dialogue probably like 4 times about would she tell her she's pregnant, or would she just point at her stomach, or would she, would she not even tell her, or whatever it was. So I think the fact that the argument worked, and we hit the beats we needed to hit, that I'm really proud of, because I've never made anything sad. I've always made it funny or dramatic, but it was never like sad, and I wanted that moment to feel like Eloise, she's getting obviously hurt very badly, so yeah, I'm proud of that.
And if I may, I think one of the reasons that works really well is because it doesn't feel like you were trying to make it sad. It was just real, and that comes from the performances and the writing, and it's just, if you try to make something sad, it doesn't really work. If you try to make something funny, it often doesn't work. It just either happens or it doesn't. This audience tonight will take away from this screening, from Sestra in general, and second part to that question, what can we do to help take it forward to the next step?
Well, I think the number one takeaway is appreciate your siblings and embrace your differences as much as you can. Don't hold your differences as a reason not to, connect and engage, because I did that me and my sister did that for a very long time. Be nice to your parents, even if they're, not always the nicest. I think Charlotte's character, Jade, obviously she neglected Mila in the past, but she's really trying, and I think there's definitely place for Mila to meet her halfway in that beginning conversation. So those are the big takeaways, is just like the way we address conflict in our families, and don't push them away if it can be salvaged. That's for sure number one. And to take it further is, if you want to buy a poster to help us raise funds for film festivals, they can cost up to like $80 just for one entry, so it's a fortune, and any poster helps. And yeah, thank you so much for coming. Thank you all for being here. And if there is a screening of Sestra again later on down the line, you will definitely be the first to know. And thank you, Gareth, as well, for hosting. Can we please make a round of applause for Gareth?
Far more importantly, please join me in giving a round of applause to Lara, Anna, and Mae.